She wasn't trying. What do you mean? Am I? Oh!
Yeah, but you probably robbed me.
You also called a postcard.
Yeah, I also
showing
called.
here for you.
Well, did you remember Mr. Evans?
He's very quick on mathematics.
Right. Right. And you were there when the Fokker Wolf came over and struck the beach, were you?
That's right. In fact, I was injured.
Were you?
Yes.
You were one of the injured ones
yes.
as well.
Graham's all and myself.
Yeah, I remember Graham was, because he was shot in the leg, I believe, wasn't he?
That's right, yeah.
The evacuees were there at the time?
Oh, yes,
yes.
yes.
And the school, I believe, had to spread out.
That's right. They utilised the Lambic Hall,
right.
and the church hall, as far as I remember.
And the church hall as well?
Yes, yes.
How many children were there altogether, do you think? I mean, it's
Bit of
only
a
about
guess
40
now.
now.
Yeah, I was 150, 200, I think. There were a lot of teachers.
So they brought more teachers in?
Yes, they came with the children safe in Plymouth and the like.
And did I hear that they actually had to have sort of shifts? Some were in.
I think that's probably true. Yes. Yes.
So how did that affect the local boys? Did you resent it in some way?
No, I don't think we did. We all sort of blended in and
You didn't mind the evacuees?
No.
Because I remember when I was a boy at my village school,
yeah.
we had an evacuee and we put him in the stinging nettles. We didn't do anything like that.
We may have done, but I've forgotten that.
So we came from Ponton Gap, Riverside Farm.
Yeah.
So we all went to Coverack School.
So when would that be?
When would that be? 1940.
Oh my God.
46, so I suppose it's starting, 46, 47. We used to walk to school from Ponton Gap to start with. And then after a year or two, and that was when you used to start when you were 4 years old then.
Yeah.
And that's about sort of 4 miles we have to walk.
What, 4 years old?
Yeah. And then after a year or two, they had a council taxi of some sort, and they used to take you into school.
Yes.
But you had to walk home. They wouldn't. Because it was always late for school.
Make sure you got there.
Make sure you got there, but you can take your time getting home.
Yes.
On their own. And I suppose I was about 8, I suppose. Because you were set to go and get things.
When I spent on a night married, of course we lived at Coverack for 10 years. And when Mark was small, before he went to school, he went down to Harbour to play with some of his friends.
Yeah.
And of course, mind you, they were fishermen there. As we fed in, they just asked them.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
That's Harry Trips before we got it. Yeah. And if you wanted to clip around the area, you have one.
Absolutely.
How are you?
So I haven't quite caught up with this. Now you're Joan's
Daughter, except she's only my husband's stepmom, so she's much younger than me. I'm not sure, so I don't really think so.
Oh, right.
No, my big sister
Now
is.
you teach Coverack now, or you
Just a little bit. I do some support teaching there.
Right.
At the odd day supply.
But were your pupils? You weren't a pupil?
No. My first teaching job was Coverack. My only full-time teaching job. I taught there for 9 years. And still, it was in my class.
That's right, yeah.
You're an
old pupil, that's right, yeah.
When were you there, Stuart?
1974 I started, yes. 26 years ago. Yes, yeah.
So 74 to
81, 86, around there, yes.
So who were the teachers there then?
And
was
Mr. Griffith, as he was then.
You were the infant.
That's right,
yes. And
yes.
the head teacher was?
Mr. Staples.
Right, I've seen pictures of Mr. Staples.
He's not here tonight, sadly, but...
Yeah, no, it's good. An excellent time,
It
brilliant
was,
time.
it was fun, wasn't
Yeah.
it? We had a lovely time.
No shortage of space in those days. You didn't have computers and things like
No,
that
not
all
at
around the
all,
classroom.
no. It was just, remembering somebody was saying about drawing the line in the playground.
Oh,
Did
yes,
have
to separate the big ones
from
and
the
the
little
little ones,
ones,
yes,
sitting
the
at the
chalk
over.
line. That's right.
Across the line, that's it. Yeah.
I went to Coverack High School, the one on top of the hill, you know.
High up.
Yeah, yes. I don't like looking at the camera.
So when were you there, Mark?
19, wait a minute. I'm 40 years old now, so We're going back to...
35 years?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And who was teaching there?
Mr. Hopton. Yeah. Hoppy we used to call him.
Right.
Yeah.
What made you up there?
Well, he used to, if we were good, he would send us down to Coverack, the local shop, to buy a quarter pound of Mentos. Bring it back for him, and then he would give them out to the kids. Or another one was the old licorice imps.
Yes.
You know?
I remember that.
To officially welcome you to this incredible gathering spanning so many years of this wonderful school. I think it didn't take me very long after I've been appointed before I realised that this was not just another school, and it's because the school here is such an integral part of the community. And the fact that this event can take place in the way it has done, I think says as much about the nature of Coverack as a community as it does about the school itself.
Thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to see so many people here, and I've been chatting to someone who probably is part of my first memory of Coverack School. Heather Rickard, who's here today. So, our teacher, not back. No, my mother went to Coverack School. My grandmother didn't. She was over at Monacan, but Mummy did.
Where's that?
But I was there. In the early 40s. Had a super crowd of students with us. Some of them are here, Richard and Christine. One of my greatest friends, Mary Cardwell. I don't think Mary's made it today. I did tell her it was on, but I think she's very busy in Lloyd's Bank. Elizabeth, Jill, Alec. We've had some good times. Elizabeth, do you remember the school play when we were up on this stage? And we had a green woolly shawl put over a box. And you were the little maid there?
All for coming and supporting this, and for sending all your interesting photographs and stories. Some of those stories will go in the new book, I warn you. And the photographs are all on display in St. Peter's Hall. And I think if you've already been, you might not have only been once, or maybe twice or 3 times, because there is so much to see of your old classmates or old teachers, and lots of memorabilia. And there's a computer in there for you to write some memories as well, or some slips of paper to add more to, so do please go there. I have heard from people from America. We've got some people here from New Zealand. It's been a most interesting time. People have travelled a long way, and we do appreciate it here. And I hope to gather all that information together for this book. I need to thank Cyril's son for bringing Miss Jury today, all the way from Plymouth. Miss Jury was a teacher here in the war, and I do welcome you especially. Thank you very much.
As you say, it's a preparation for life, and I don't think anybody could have a happier time. I know it was never raining, it was always happy, we never got the pain. I only got it for following the hounds and not getting back in time for the afternoon school session. And we were all lined up about 8 boys. We just had the cane, and that was the end of that. Nobody took any notice of things like that. Just like this morning, we started at 10:30, and about 11:30, say, oh well, we better get going.
I was at Coverack School from 39 to 42, and the headmistress at the time, of course, was Miss Mavis Stevens, who became Mrs. George Hart, that you were just hearing about. And one of my enduring memories, and it has a certain bearing on this wonderful project that's going on at the moment. We were in a history lesson one hot, sunny afternoon, and I'm pretty sure it was Miss Stevens who was giving us this history lesson, and we were all getting a little bit sleepy and a little bit not attentive, and suddenly, looking behind Miss Stevens at the skirting board of this big classroom that was then existing, we saw a little face peering out, and everybody suddenly started to look down, you see, and in a moment a huge rat came out. An immediate absolute chaos. The whole class took off chasing this rat. We're all climbing over the desk. The rat vanished into what we had then as the old cloakroom out in the front of the school, and we just saw it hurtle up a pipe in the corner into a hole in the roof. Anyway, all was well in the end, because Michael Bozzesto went home and got a gin trap, and in the morning we had our rat. So there we are. Another quick reference, Graham was reminding me this morning about something. We were all playing on the battery one morning, Saturday presumably, and all of a sudden a Dornier raider came over, a German sea raider, and sank a Polish cargo ship just straight out here. We saw it all happen as if we were watching the cinema. And the upshot of that was that the crew escaped in a big ship's lifeboat, and one of the Coverack boats towed them into the harbour, and they were all taken away and looked after. But the outcome was that this ship's lifeboat was there tied up alongside for some time, and of course, being boys, we investigated this. Well, we found a large supply of enormous ship's biscuits, which were about 3/4 of an inch thick, and even us boys, we found those just about impossible to eat. But the other interesting thing we found was in the bottom boards and scattered round about loads of live 303 ammunition. So we took this up to our shed, and fortunately we had the sufficient knowledge to take the bullets out, but we were then having a lovely time putting the cartridges in the vise with a hammer and a nail and banging them off. And all these lovely things we did. But,
tomorrow, and he was an evacuee here, and hope you enjoy your visit.
Immensely. And I'm fully indebted to this village for taking me into their heart in 1944. I stayed here, possibly the last one to leave, in 1946, summer of 1946. And proof of it is that I keep returning to this part of the country. I am still partly a Cornishman. I live in the town of Cornwall, which is just on the borders.
How did you manage to teach so many people in such a small school? How did they organise the lessons?
Well, I was in St. Peter's Hall with a little ones.
Yes.
And the first group and the senior part.
Do Did they use the Lambic Hall as well, did I hear?
This one you mean?
Was this used, yeah?
Yes, the Enfield people were here. There was a lot of Enfield children who'd come down too, their teachers.
Yeah.
And they worked as a separate unit. And they were here in this room.
And what...
And we amalgamated with the school.
Ah, yes. And Miss Mottom, now tell me about her, your friend Miss also teaching with you.
Well, she came down with us too. And when Mrs. Hart retired, they asked Miss Motton if she would take on being the head, so she was the head until we went back to her.
In 1975 and left in 1987.
Goodness.
That's
And,
good, isn't it?
yes, it is. And during that time, in fact, my daughter-in-law worked with you too,
That's
so
right,
that's a
Anne
bit
was
of
here
the
with me.
history. And she's
Yes.
very sad not to be here with you today, but she was here last night. And now you've got a few tales that I read in your letter. Something about the Lord's Prayer, I seem to remember.
Oh, yeah. I did say I wouldn't mention the lad involved.
No, I don't think we've earmarked him, but it's rather a nice story.
Well, it was at assembly one morning. You know how they all sat in front of us
Yeah.
on the floor. And we started the Lord's Prayer. And this little lad, he hadn't been in school very long. And they're not taught the Lord's Prayer as such when they first come. They pick it up from others. Yeah. And I was listening to saying the Lord's Prayer. And this little lad said, "Our Father, White Hart, St. Kevin." And I thought it's remained with me for many years.
Yes.
Yes.
Our ethos is to develop the whole child, isn't it? And they absolutely blossom when they're performing, and they gain so much confidence, and it's so important. Well,
I'm standing there thinking,
right. Well, Nell Rushton King is our latest teacher, newly appointed. You've done the term. How are you settling in?
It's been wonderful. It's been very tiring, quite overwhelming at times, but the children have been fantastic. And with the support of Martin and Val and yourselves as the Board of Governors, it's been a transition that's not been too difficult to make, definitely.
And how many children have you got now?
At this moment in time I have 16 full-time and 1 part-time child.
So you're glad you joined us?
Oh, most definitely. It's an opportunity I wouldn't have wanted to have given up for the world.
Well, this is an opportunity for us too, because Nell, really, you come from St. Kevin's, really, went to St. Kevin's School, a local girl, getting a local job, and I really, really do appreciate, and you knowing the history and the background of the children is too important.
That's right. It's wonderful to be here today, though, to hear all these superb stories of the years, of the history that has gone on. This is quite a rare opportunity that I think many newly qualified teachers wouldn't have to experience.
Yeah.
Early 1950s. I came in 51. It must have been 52.
52.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes.
When did you teach at the school then, Betty?
In Coverack.
Coverack.
I came in 1964. And when I had my interview, they said, well, the school will have a life of 5 years now.
Really?
So after the 5th year, there was a vacancy in St. Kevin, so I hightailed it up to St. Kevin.
Deserted us.
And here you are going from strength to strength. And who can prophesy these things, really? I think it's tremendous that Coverack has, you know, has risen like that and grown. And the thing I remember most about Coverack School, and perhaps this is wrong, is the humorous things that happen.
Yes.
And nobody warned me when I took that appointment that any teacher at Coverack School should have long legs.
Oh,
really?
And this was because there was no bolt on the lavatory door, you see. So when you sat down, you had to extend. And I must say that when I was out there one day, you know Philip Moore, of course, Philip, charming little boy, realised the key was still in the door and locked me out of school. There are all sorts of things that used to happen like that. But one of my best stories I remember was, you know Peter Oliver?
Yeah.
We were talking about domestic animals and farm animals, you see, and his mother well. I said to him, does your mummy still keep pigs, Peter? No, he said, she has visitors now. I don't know whether yes, I can tell the other one about the Hunt family. You know the Hunts.
Yes, Margaret's.
Yes, and we were doing the story of Samuel, and how the Lord had promised Hannah that if she gave her son to the temple, he would reward her with further children, you see, and she had, I think it was, 6 more children. And William, who was sitting on the floor, looked at me and said, "But my mother has bills, so she won't have any more."
Started off at the St. Peter's Hall, shifted from there to the village hall, as we called it, down at the Battery. And then we made our day when we went to the high school, as we called it, which is this school at the top of the hill. This used to be 2 classrooms at a time. There used to be a hot-bloody stove there. As we were coming from farms, usually we lived on good old Cornish pasties, and they used to be warmed up here around the coal stove. And also, I've made the effort to come back today because I've got some wonderful memories of this place, Coverack. The people of Coverack, when we came here after the Blitz of Plymouth, took us to their hearts and made us 100% welcome. And now, creeping up to the lovely age of 70, I still make the effort to come down this area at least once a year. Obviously during the summer holidays, and I've never been able to get into the school. But wonderful day, been well looked after.